it now. So,
Mhm.
g'day, Melanie. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Tom, thanks so much for having me.
Oh, good to have you on, and great to get that little laugh in before we got into the show. I don't know if that's coming into the recording, but anyway, here we are. Yes, well, Melanie, let's talk about your business or your new business, The Good Move. And from my understanding, it was sort of late 2020 where you come up with I guess probably you didn't come up with the idea then, but you came up with the
Yeah.
concept before that, but you finally launched it in late 2022. Tell us a little bit about The Good Move and what it's all about, because as you know, for our listeners on this show, they're really interested in learning about different workplace wellbeing strategies, and naturally movements and exercise. We're both physiotherapists, and we know we probably get sick of ourselves talking about how good movement is for you, and a lot of people also get sick of that as well. But if we all know the benefits of physical well-being and how that interlinks with mental well-being and emotional well-being as well. So yeah, tell us a little bit about The Good Move. You've obviously come up with the concept and wanting to bring it out to the world. So yeah, tell us.
Awesome, thanks, Tom. So yeah, you're correct. The Good Move, it kind of formed over, I guess, probably through the years of COVID, really. I myself, I'm a physiotherapist by background, and then worked now in injury management, so an office-based employee. And it was really through my experience in working from home where I just saw this dramatic change to my move and step count on my Apple Watch. I'm a runner, and so I am always looking at my watch, for kilometers, steps, love tracking all of that data. And I just couldn't believe the incidental walking that would be involved with, traveling to and from work or going for your lunch break at work, to and from meetings. So I really noticed a difference in my sedentary behaviour whilst working from home. So throughout COVID, I was doing some online Pilates classes for my running group. And the Good Move really formed when I kind of combined my injury management skills and my passion for Pilates to bring together something that would be really accessible for people to do, both working from home and in the office. So it's essentially short 5-minute series that you can do from your office chair, from a desk at home. There's mat sessions and standing sessions. And the concept is really to encourage movement throughout the day. So we know that, you can have an 8-hour day at the desk, and there's so many health risks associated with that. And the Good Move is there to essentially help provide move breaks, guide you through a quick series of movements and I guess to give you that break both mentally and physically, but also enabling people to do it from the office. So there's an office friendly version, which I love because I know that, sometimes you just spend that whole day at the desk, and it just really breaks up that day. So yeah, that's where it formed, and yes, launched at the end of last year.
Yeah, unreal. Gee, you've done a fair bit with the different concepts or the different avenues for either people or employers to jump onto this. Yeah, I found as well through working from home remotely, 100% of during the last couple of years. Gee, my step count and my movement was just not that step count. It does matter, kind of it's a great measure of general activity, but anecdotally, my step count when I was working from home and probably just in a bit of a rut, I would say from a fitness point of view, I reckon I was only doing about 3,000 to 4,000 when I was working at home and the gyms weren't open. And then the difference for me when I actually go to the office, which I now do 3 times a week, sometimes 4, the difference is about 8 to 9,000 for me. So it's it's quite a big difference.
Massive.
And also the commute in, I ride my bike in as
Perfect.
well. So that's like easy 20 minutes there, 20 minutes back, or 30 minutes. So it's like a cheeky extra hour of exercise purely from going to the office. Now, I'm not saying everyone should go and ride a bike into the office, but just the difference from incidental, moving around the office versus sitting at home and getting a bit stuck in our ways or our our chairs. I mean, my biggest walk was probably to the fridge during COVID, to be honest. Yeah,
100%, 100%.
yeah,
And I think, just as you mentioned, that incidental walking from getting your lunch in the kitchen, a few steps versus perhaps having to go out and buy something on whilst you're in the office. And the other part of
yeah,
it was really these makeshift desk setups that I saw from colleagues and from
yeah.
friends. People working on their kitchen benches, people were coming up with so many creative concepts. But ergonomically, I know a lot of people suffered. So, for your
Yeah.
back and your posture, it was all about, it's not about, just how you can sit so perfectly now. It's all about getting up and actually changing position and movement.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Actually, it's I was going to ask you a little bit about
Yeah.
ergonomics because yeah, the COVID environment, like we had clients send us photos of ironing boards and laptops on ironing boards as their standing
I haven't
desks.
heard
It's
that
like
one.
I was like, mate, whatever works for you, but it's not a long
Yeah.
term thing.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the other one was obviously people were lying in, but like this is horrible, and no one's doing it now, surely. But lying
Yeah.
in bed or sitting in bed in long sitting with their laptop, and kind
Yeah.
of going, yeah, that's look at this, this is look at this
Yeah.
pinnacle, guys. Like this is funny, but beyond that, like we know, and your experience in the injury management space
Mm.
is fairly prolific, I guess. So with like posture is talked about a fair bit.
Mm.
How important is it really, or like is it even
Yeah.
important? There's a lot of conjecture around that in the
Sure.
physio world for those physio nerds that might be
Yeah.
listening. Yeah,
Absolutely, and it's funny. Growing up, I did ballet, so I was always drilled into my head about posture and poise and everything like that. So it's always been something that's been part of me. And in Pilates, again, through my training and coaching.
mm,
But it is interesting because the many years ago, a lot of physios would do these posture assessments, and it would be, let's recommend X, Y, and Z to correct all of these potentially different imbalances. But it really
mm,
is shifting to, instead of trying to hold a really static, perfect posture all day, which is very difficult to do, let's change position. So having those move breaks enables your body to change position, kind of get into more comfortable things, because we know that can be really challenging. And often people will hold their neck so stiff when they're
yeah.
trying to kind of create a perfect posture. So yeah, my motto now is very much, there is no perfect posture. Your best posture is your next posture. So getting up and moving, even just having that short stand, will just help you reset for sure.
I love it. Yeah, that's good. And you
Yeah.
you might have heard there was an episode that we did with the guy from Limber Life, and he's got what's called the world's healthiest desk. And interestingly enough, it's a desk that really moves, can be adjusted in so many ways, almost to the point of
Yeah.
sitting or kneeling on the floor. And his whole thing was around he's from New Zealand and quite into the
Yeah.
research around it. And he was saying exactly the same as you, which is, your best posture is your next posture, and really that movement
Yeah.
or that variety of movement. I mean, our bodies are designed. It's kind of like the whole thing of should I, when people end up in bare feet over summer and or thongs, and then they start
Yes.
getting sore. Well, it's kind of like, well, you've spent your whole the rest of the year in these stable shoes or these stability type shoes, and
Yeah.
suddenly
Yeah.
you've now getting a bit sore. So I think naturally for
Yeah.
people that are sitting and working from home, yeah, the movement is the key, and the frequency of that is probably another area to
Mhm.
consider. So when you chat with clients or through your
Yeah.
program at the Good Move, like
Yeah.
if someone's got a whole day in front of them, and a
Yep.
lot of our clients now are doing a few days or 2 days in the office at least.
Mm.
They often say, when I'm at home, I really have to focus on like planning my
Yep.
day and making sure that I'm not on back-to-back meetings
Mm.
for 3 hours at a time. What do you recommend to break
Yeah.
up and to say do those mini workouts that you've got, all those mini movement breaks?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think on that, so in my experience of being a physio, I always found if I gave someone a whole sheet of exercises that was potentially going to take them an hour and a half to do, you'd see them at the next session and ask them, and they'd have a really good look on their face. But if you said, this is your key thing, I want you to work on just a couple of moves, I found the
Yeah.
compliance really improved. So with the 5-minute sessions, they're a bit more they're bite-sized, they're more appealing. If I was to say to someone, okay, I need you to do this throughout the day, it's less appealing. So it's not there, I guess, to replace your exercise. So if you go to the gym, or if you ride your bike, or if you're a runner, that's absolutely great. Continue to do that. But throughout your day, we want to avoid that 8-hour sedentary behavior. So my advice to people when I talk to them is about every person's day is different. So I would never say you've got to do it, on the hour, every hour. But what I would do is look at your calendar and put some realistic goals in. So saying to yourself, okay, I've got a little break here, I'm going to pop it in and do a calendar reminder, because once it comes up, that just gives you that alert and that feeling to do it. But the goal would really be to at least, every hour, every second hour, trying to get some movement in, but also being realistic to your day. So you want to set yourself up for success. And, I think if you're trying to go too high, you're less likely to achieve it. But if you give yourself a really realistic goal, I think that's great. The other thing that you mentioned about these back-to-back meetings, I know with Microsoft and Outlook, one of the things that people are doing, and I'm hearing more and more about this, is actually setting meetings either at 5 past or finishing 5 minutes before. And it's a really great way to actually wrap everyone up and allow yourself so you're not having that back-to-back meeting. I know that's a huge opportunity to
Yeah.
have a brain break as well.
That's a winner, that advice there on that 5 minute
Yeah,
early. You know that there's always that person, and maybe that's me, where it's like, you're like trying to wrap up, and then, oh, I've got another thing that I need to talk about. And it's like, no, 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 let's. So that's
yeah,
really smart, just to go that far. We
yeah,
can all wrap up things a lot faster than we think, and
for
sometimes
sure.
I think we're being over polite in those
Yeah,
virtual meetings where we're like hanging on for, yeah, let's all
yeah,
get
yeah,
right till 10 a.m.
yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I like that. That's really cool. I'm wondering, Melanie, with the workouts and I guess there's
Mhm.
obviously different options for different body areas. In the Good Move, are there any workouts that are particularly popular that you've noticed relative to others? As in, are people
Yeah,
wanting a neck, a bit of neck action or upper body sort of movement before, say, doing something a bit more for their legs, or what are you
yeah.
saying there?
It's a really good question, and it's interesting. The way it's categorized is actually the different options. So you've got your office chair, you've got a desk, a home chair, which I guess you can do a little bit more fancy things on without the wheels, and then
Yeah.
you have a mat adding option. So I was actually quite curious to see what was going to be the most popular, and everyone is loving the chair options. And I think it's because it gives you a piece of equipment. You can do a few, fancier things with it, but also, yeah, you get your mid back moving, your thoracic. People love their mid back
Mm.
extensions, because I know we're all sitting like this, looking at our
Yeah.
phones, head down. So that extension for a lot of people is a huge winner.
Yeah.
Especially for me
Yeah.
as well. I love that feeling. So
That's a ripper, isn't it? And I guess that's kind of the
yeah.
spot where like people might get a foam roller as well, or they have
Oh yeah.
maybe done that before, where they're kind of really opening up. But in the chair,
Yes.
that's interesting. The chair is the most popular thing, but it makes sense because people are, unfortunately, they are sitting for a fair bit, so they just need to work.
Yeah.
As you say, it's like small movements, but regularly is obviously the key. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
with that middle back section as well, in the last week at our clinic at the wellness center, we've had
Mhm.
we've actually had some really acute episodes of people coming with that mid back issue, and when
Yes.
we ask them what's going on, and kind of why you're kind of hobbling in and
Happening.
really
Yeah.
flexed over. There some of them are on these big projects, and it's coming to the end of the project, and
Mm.
so then you dive into it, and the physios are kind of saying it's this like stress build up
Yeah.
response. And now suddenly, they're staying up late working.
Yes.
They're working towards a deadline, and then it sort of hits them, and they kind of like coming
Yeah.
in flexed over. And we're seeing
Oh,
these
yeah.
people walk in, and we're like, oh my goodness. So, really good
Yeah.
example of like, you don't have to get sore, you don't have to get yourself in pain to then start moving. Actually, just keep it in your habit of meetings, or habit
Yeah.
of your day as well.
For sure, yeah, absolutely. And I think that that mid back section is often not one that we'll do in other regular movements. So incorporating
Yeah.
rotations and extensions, it's not part of everyday life where we,
Yeah.
perhaps extend that section. So it is really beneficial for us and can help, unlock that spine.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. With your injury management sort of background and
Mm,
in your current role, there's obviously through that, I guess what people might refer
yeah,
to or know as like work cover, there's obviously physical injuries are often a bit of a one of the main sources of work cover
yeah,
claims. I'm wondering within this framework of the good move, naturally this is like a preventative approach to that. So you're helping people move through the programs and breaking things up from a like sort of data or research perspective into
mm,
those worker compensation sort of
mm,
issues or claims. Is there anything that's really commonplace for really for the office demographic or the I guess
yeah,
white collar type people? Because these are the people that aren't necessarily in the mines, or they're not tradies where they're falling off things. These are people that are more sedentary. Is there anything common
yes.
in that demographic?
Yeah, absolutely. We see a lot of neck pain, a lot of low back pain, sustained posture, and but the crazy thing at the moment is there's this huge rise of stress and mental injury in workers' comp. And whilst this is the good move is a physical exercise, we know that also having movement breaks and breaks from your desk is really important to manage stress. So, a lot of workplaces are investing heavily in how to improve mental health, stress, and of course, avoid burnout within their workplaces. So
Yeah,
that's certainly something else for us to consider. That we know that physical exercise can have a positive impact on mental health as well, and in conjunction with other strategies, whether that be offering EAP, mindfulness, and a whole range of other mental health strategies. I do feel there's that element of incorporating the physical component and stepping away from the desk for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Massive research around
Yeah,
the um, physical well-being being having such a flow-on effect to someone's mental capacity. But yeah, you're right.
yeah,
The stress claims or the mental health type injuries are certainly going up at a fairly solid rate. And
yeah,
yeah, I see it as I see the physical, and obviously maybe perhaps being a bit biased, being a physiotherapist, but
mm,
really we see clients where they're coming in with chronic type issues and the mental health. You can't just do the physical stuff without talking about the mental
mm,
health components, and they really
yeah,
interrelate. And like clients come in and they'll do programs with us that are physical based, or regular workouts or
yeah,
regular Pilates and stuff. And what they say is, this has been the best part of my day, or
yeah,
this is helping me with all the other aspects of my
yeah,
life. And that's not, whilst I'm giving you anecdotal sort of examples, it's a genuine thing. And I think also maybe through the last couple of years, people are now starting to get into more fitness than they were in the last 2 years, where
yeah,
maybe they were more stressed and seeing the
yeah,
benefits of that. Um, Funnily enough, Melanie, this time of year I think it's the second week of February, I think, is when all the
yeah,
New Year's resolutions start to drop off, apparently. So
yeah,
like we we know that people always start the year and it's often
yeah,
like, I'm gonna lose 5 kilos, or I'm gonna run a marathon, or I'm gonna,
yeah,
I don't know, like I'm gonna be a militant with my meal planning, that kind of stuff. So
mm,
I guess probably the last question I have around this
yeah,
is sort of recommended movement. So we're talking about breaking up the day with your
yeah,
program, the Good Move, and seeing the value in having regular movement breaks. Outside of that, though, people should be moving and exercising at a certain rate. Given
mhm,
your sort of expertise as a physio, you've got your
yeah,
Pilates, and you're a runner as well, and
yeah,
an ex ballet person. So you're probably quite a big mover yourself. What are sort of the recommended guidelines that, if someone came to you and saw you, what would you
yeah,
be saying to keep their fitness? And obviously, I'm not talking boot camps for New Year's resolutions. I'm
yeah,
just talking sort of that a whole year. If someone could keep moving, what should they be
yeah.
doing?
For sure. And look, the World Health Organization's activity guidelines, 150 to 300 minutes activity of moderate intensity, also recommending strength training. So I think, getting, your squats, using weights if you can, balancing it out with cardio, limiting sedentary work. The key for me is do something that you like and you enjoy, because then that way you're actually going to stick to it. So as you mentioned before about the New Year's resolutions, if someone's doing a boot camp and they hate going there and it's just awful, they're not going to stick to it. There's going to be no compliance. But if you find something that you really enjoy, or if there's a group that you're doing it with and you love being with those people or that community, I feel like that's my best advice to keep moving throughout the week. Set yourself those realistic goals and standards, using
Mm.
the WHO guidelines as a key, but being really, I guess, if you know that 3 days you're working from home and they're the days that you can get to the gym and they're a bit easier for you, having that routine and sticking to those habits.
Yeah, love it. I love it. And you kind
Yeah,
yeah, how you're approaching it is really kind of structuring a little bit more with your time as well. So with your
yeah,
workday, like you say, if you're working from home, it makes it a little bit easier to sort of get that maybe that 8
yeah,
a.m. session in rather than the
for
ridiculous like
sure.
5 or 6 a.m. like some people when they're going to the
Oh, that's
office.
me.
Yeah, I'm 6 o'clock, and I'm that used to it now that I'm actually wide awake at 5:30. But anyway,
Yeah,
as are my
yeah,
kids, which is another story. But anyway, um,
yeah,
Melanie, that was great. Thanks so much for sharing a little bit about the good move. It's definitely a great idea and great concept, and definitely useful for a lot of people that are now working either still 100% remote or mostly hybrid in the white collar type space. So certainly for those that are interested, definitely check out the good move. And yeah, we'll connect through the show notes with all the other
yeah,
information. I believe there's a free trial as well
yeah.
through a 7-day trial that people can start just to add into their routine if they are struggling with having those set movement breaks. But Melanie, thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Tom. It's been a pleasure.